This morning, I was having a deep conversation with a friend, and I will share part of the voice clips in this musing. I have my friend's permission, but with everything, there's never any mention of any names, so privacy is always protected. But we went really, really deep, and this was not some official client session. This was just a heart-to-heart in the flow, just a conversation on Messenger. But it went really deep, really fast, and a new layer has been peeled back. And I am now to the point where I call BS on spirituality, especially on all of the non-dualism gymnastics, which really is what they are, mental gymnastics of trying to avoid emotional pain. Our mind flees into detachment or non-attachment, emotional non-attachment, to cope with our trauma wounds of severance, the pain of severance from love. Okay, I realized this, and I'm going to the depth of that in the voice clip, which I will play for you.
Well, it's almost like I said, it has ruined my life. I think what it has done is maybe enhanced the fear of loss. And the way we deal with that is by detachment. You've already lost your children. Now you might be a little apprehensive of forming an attachment to the coming grandbaby because of the trauma of losing your children, right? You see how I analyze things now through the lens of psychology rather than spirituality? Because that's what our mind does. It tries to bypass to avoid further pain, and so it goes into detachment mode, avoidance mode. It's quite unconscious, and we make the mistake and call it spirituality. But really, it's for you to be hesitant to make an emotional attachment to the grandbaby is like me not wanting to fall in love again, because that was such a traumatic break. Right? It was so painful. And every emotional attachment with the potential of breaking holds a lot of pain. And maybe our mind has simply shifted into detachment and avoidance to not re-experience another trauma of severance, if that makes sense.
But really, it is a mental avoidance game, and we have called it spirituality, and I have to call bullshit. And I am to the state now where I'm pretty much done with all of this spiritual bypassing. I have gained such a tremendous self-awareness about my mind and into my mind and what it will do to avoid pain. right? My friend is about to be a grandma. What a blessing that is. But it can also be bittersweet. My friend is dealing with the trauma of having been a less than perfect mom. She had her children taken away, and that is such a emotional severance, such a deep pain that only a mother that has gone through that will understand and know that pain. I can't even understand that pain, but I understand the pain of severance on another level. For, having been in loved ones and having had that ripped away from me, it's a pain of equal depth, just different. And I'm recognizing the patterns. Like I mentioned in the voice clip, I'm recognizing the pattern that I have not become more spiritual. Rather, I have become more afraid, more avoidant, right? And like I told my friend that, she's hesitant to form an emotional attachment to the baby because of the trauma she has experienced from losing her own children. That too is a trauma response. That non-attachment, that detachment is a trauma response. Because she doesn't want to re-experience that severance again from the baby. But then I said to her, this is your opportunity to redeem yourself. This is your opportunity to love again. Maybe you weren't able to love your children in the way they needed to, but this baby, this grandbaby, is your opportunity to open your heart again and to form an attachment and to love, because the baby is deserving of a grandmother's love, right? So this is where I'm taking the turn with non-duality, spirituality, and I'm calling bullshit on all these detachment, non-attachment theories. It's really just the fear of losing, again, the fear of loss that we're trying to avoid by being non-attached. I'm telling you that when you have somebody experiencing the pain of, when you have somebody still sitting with the pain of losing your children, still feeling the pain of that severance, it's not enough to tell them, oh, nothing here is real. That is so, truly so detached of all empathy. And you're not going to heal them by telling someone that is experiencing emotional pain, soul pain, by saying nothing here is real. It's just a dream. That's the ultimate avoidance, the ultimate detachment. And it's a psychological response to trauma. We gave it the fancy name of spirituality. And like I said, this musing is basically calling out the BS of that. Right? So, while I understand the non-duality teachings, while I understand and have all the cognitive explanation for it, I understand the mechanics of this being the mental, the mind doing mental gymnastics just to avoid re-experiencing such deep pain. And that's why we remain detached. Yes, you can live that way, but you're not fully here. You're not fully present.